The United States has now entered a new and dangerous era in international trade. As of Saturday, U.S. customs agents began enforcing President Donald Trump's sweeping unilateral tariff policy, starting with a 10% baseline tariff on virtually all imports. This marks the formal abandonment of the post-World War II global economic order built on cooperative tariff agreements and mutual benefit. Instead, we are witnessing the imposition of an aggressive, isolationist economic agenda, one that is already triggering seismic disruptions across global markets, and it's only just begun. Within 48 hours of Trump's announcement, global financial markets convulsed. The S&P 500 alone lost $5 trillion in value, a record-shattering decline not seen even during the darkest days of the 2008 financial crisis. Investors rushed to the safety of government bonds, while oil and commodity prices plummeted. This wasn't a correction. It was a panic, a sudden recognition that the world's largest economy had just pulled the rug out from under the global trade system. The new tariffs apply indiscriminately. Countries long considered allies, such as Australia, the United Kingdom, and Saudi Arabia, are being treated with the same suspicion and hostility as historical rivals. Meanwhile, heavier, targeted tariffs, some as high as 50%, are set to hit China, the European Union, and Vietnam by next week. These are not just taxes on foreign goods. They are a declaration of economic war. The implications are dire. The U.S. economy is deeply embedded in complex global supply chains. Businesses rely on imported parts, raw materials, and goods to function efficiently and cost-effectively. The sudden imposition of punitive tariffs will raise costs for manufacturers and consumers alike. Perhaps most concerning is the sheer unpredictability of the policy. Trump has carved out countless exceptions and created an opaque, shifting landscape of tariffs and exemptions. Some sectors, like oil and pharmaceuticals, have been spared for now, but many others are being threatened with further duties under the pretext of national security. This is economic governance by impulse, not strategy. It introduces chaos where stability is required, and it exposes both domestic and international markets to arbitrary and politically motivated risk. The grace periods offered to goods already in transit are a small consolation in an otherwise chaotic shift. Traders and logistics firms now face not just higher costs, but the impossible task of planning in an environment where policy can change overnight. Every major global trading partner is now forced to reassess its economic relationship with the U.S., not out of choice, but necessity. The ripple effects will be global and enduring. Supply chains will realign, but not necessarily in ways that benefit the U.S. Allies may retaliate with tariffs of their own. Multilateral trade agreements may increasingly exclude the United States, and countries that once looked to America as a partner in global prosperity will now view it as a destabilizing force, driven by economic nationalism rather than mutual benefit. All of this plays directly into the hands of America's competitors. China, in particular, now has the opportunity to position itself as a more stable and predictable partner for international trade. The irony is striking. In an attempt to isolate China, the Trump administration may be accelerating its rise as a global economic leader. What's worse, the underlying justification for these tariffs remains dubious. Trump claims the measures are necessary to restore fairness and address trade imbalances, but economists overwhelmingly agree that trade deficits are not inherently damaging, and tariffs are a blunt, often counterproductive tool for correcting them. Instead of fostering fair competition, this move punishes consumers and businesses alike, while doing little to actually rebuild American manufacturing in the short term. And there's another layer of danger: political opportunism disguised as economic policy. Exempting Canada and Mexico under the guise of fentanyl-related rules of origin raises questions about whether these tariffs are really about trade, or about using economic tools to manipulate allies and extract concessions unrelated to commerce. This is not a strategy. It is a gamble with staggering stakes. The U.S. economy is still the world's largest, but it does not operate in isolation. Globalization may have flaws, but it has also created decades of prosperity, technological advancement, and relative geopolitical stability. That system is now under direct attack from within, led by a U.S. president who appears to value disruption over diplomacy, power over partnership, and chaos over consensus. If this trend continues, we should not expect a quick recovery. Investors may adapt, supply chains may shift, but the damage to America's credibility and the global economic system may take a generation to repair, if it can be repaired at all. This isn't just about trade. It's about the unraveling of a global order that, for all its imperfections, was built to avoid the very kind of instability we're now accelerating toward. The next stage could involve more than market losses. It could bring geopolitical fallout, rising global tensions, and the long-term erosion of American economic leadership. The clock is ticking.